So GPU prices are steadily trickling down, but it's still not fast enough. It's still super expensive. So could this mini PC from MSI be the solution for budget gamers? Well, let's find out. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to We Do Tech, and also to my look at this mini PC from MSI, which is the Pro DP20ZA5M. Now, this is more actually made for office work or stores or so on, not necessarily for gaming, but I was really curious to find out if this could be the solution to some of the more budget gamers' problem where they can't necessarily afford a super expensive budget card. RTX 3050 is still stupid expensive, double almost MSRP. So could this be the solution for that? We're gonna find out how it performs, all of that, temperatures, everything. Are you looking for a new gaming gear, whether it's peripherals, hardware, cases, so on? Well, MSI has what you need, especially with their recently priced PCI Express 3 or 4 NVMe SSDs like the M390 with a solid performance at an affordable price, which we also did a build on. For the case, the Gunyear 110M might just be the perfect fit for your new build. It still has the same cool design as the 110R, but now with a mesh front that allows for increased airflow. Better yet, it's even more affordable. Now, if you're instead in need of a power supply, the MPG A850GF is ready for you with an 80+ gold rating, a 10-year warranty, being fully modular and available in 650, 750 and 850 watts. Lastly, what about peripherals? Well, the GM41 wireless is the one you should check out. Not only is it wireless, but it's also lightweight, only weighing 74 grams, uses the PAW3370 new high-end optical sensor, a battery life up to 70 hours, and it comes with a cool docking station, so you don't need to worry about cables or anything like that. Just dock it on there. So check out all of those with the link in the description below. Now, this is the most affordable option at $500, where you get the Ryzen 5 5300G APU. So it does have a CPU and a GPU built into one. Now, currently it is a OEM CPU only, so you can't necessarily buy it separately, but it still has 4 cores and 8 threads, just enough, and it boosts up to 4.2 gigahertz. Also, you do have the Vega 6, of course, graphics included with these as well. Now, memory-wise, you do have 2 SODIMM slots, and this one, again, the cheapest model, does use 2 4 gig DDR4 DIMM slots running at 2666. But of course, you can upgrade that if you wanted to. This is just the stock model. Now, storage-wise, it does come with a single 250 gig M.2 NVMe SSD, but you do have the options of upgrading it with an additional M.2 and then also a 2.5-inch hard drive for SSD. And finally, it does come out with Windows 10 or Windows 11. Mine was upgraded already to Windows 11. Now, again, this is the budget option. You do have the upgraded model with the Ryzen 7 5700G, so a bit stronger with 8 cores and 16 threads, and then boosts up to 4.6 gigahertz with the Vega 8 graphics. Now, if you want a bit more power, that's definitely going to be the better option, but it also costs a bit more at $800. So it does come with 16 gigs of RAM instead of the 8 gigs, but of course that is luckily upgradable. So for $500, I don't think that's too bad, especially if you're looking for something really tiny. Now, unfortunately, there's not going to be a lot of upgradability. You're not going to be able to buy an additional or dedicated GPU and plug it in here, because that's going to be almost the size of the entire PC. So I checked how much is an equivalent PC, a custom PC, going to cost, and with everything included and also a bit stronger APU, because again, this is an OEM CPU, so it was the 5600G, which has 6 cores and 12 threads, so a bit stronger, and that costs around $500 as well. But of course, it's going to be a full system, and then also you're going to need to have the knowledge of actually building a PC, which a lot of people don't necessarily have. But you do have the option of upgrading that later on with a dedicated GPU once the prices actually drops down a bit. So it's just going to depend up to what you need. Do you want to rather have something small like this for your media center, for a home PC, or for an office space, and not worry about building or upgrading or anything like that? Or do you want to possibly later on upgrade for a dedicated GPU? Then of course a custom build would be better, but it's still pretty close. And again, I just love how tiny this thing is. So for the size, it is a 2.6 liter case. And again, it's also very light at only 1.5 kilograms or 3.35 pounds. So very, very light. You just see how much I'm picking it up. Now, as for power, it does come with a pretty small power adapter, which is 120 watts, and more of a laptop charger. And that also does help keep it nice and small with nothing included. Now, power-wise, what I saw it actually drawing on idle was only 25 watts, which definitely isn't bad. Under a gaming load, it only used 56 watts. The CPU is rated at 65 watts, and then under a heavy load, it used around 78 watts, and then the max that I actually got under GPU and also CPU heavy load, it peaked at 91 watts. Now, as for temperatures, you would think a system this small will generate a lot of heat. But luckily, due to all of the ventilation on the sides, at the top, and then also back, just not at the front, it actually kept temperatures in check with the stock cooler. On a heavy Cinebench R23 stress test, it maxed out at 73 degrees and kept this clock speeds at 4.1 gigahertz all throughout. Now, as for your I/O, it's nothing too crazy, but it's honestly everything that you really need. So yeah, at the front, you do have your audio and headphone jacks. You do have a USB 2 Type A port and also a USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type C ports. And then here at the back, you do have two USB 2 Type A ports for your peripherals. You do have two also USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type A ports. For your display, you do have a few options here. So you do have a DisplayPort version 1.4, HDMI 2.0B port, and then also your VGA port. Now for your Wi-Fi, you do have your Wi-Fi 5 and then also your gigabit Ethernet ports. Now, of course, because this is more meant for office, actually, you do also have a COM port as well, which is used for more specialized equipment, sometimes a point of sales or medical devices or stuff like that, machinery. But that is pretty much it. Pretty standard. There's nothing get too crazy, but everything you need. Now, finally, let's get into actually how it performed in gaming. Now, unfortunately, again, it's going to be more of a budget APU, so you're not going to play anything 4K, 144 Hz or anything like that. But I was able to get some decent frames at lower settings and also lower resolutions. So I tried a Fortnight in 1080p, very low settings, but a view distance on Epic, and I got an average of 66 FPS and a 1% of 23 FPS. Now, I did see a lot of frame drops where if you're in a bit of action, you do get occasional spikes here and there, but it didn't hinder my experience that much where it was unplayable, only again here and there. And also Rainbow Six Siege, I was able to play 1080p at low settings with an average of 44 frames and a 1% of 38. But I also tested it then on 720p where it got an average of 77 frames a second and also 1% of 62, a lot more stable. So definitely get a playable getting over that 60 FPS mark. Now Apex Legends, I was able to play at very low settings but at 720p, which didn't look the best, and also only got an average of 44 frames a second and a 1% of 27. It was a bit of a struggle there, but it was at least playable. And if only I didn't play at 200 ping, it would have also been a lot better. Now, League of Legends, to no surprise, did really well. I was able to play 1080p, very high settings, and I got an average of 110 frames a second and a 1% of 78. And then next up for Call of Duty Modern Warfare, unfortunately, I needed to play at 720p low settings, pretty much everything, where I got an average of 38 frames a second and a lows of 29. So that was more debatable if it was actually really playable. Now that's it for the gaming benchmark. But I did did also test a Cinebench R23 just because, and also a Geekbench and a Blender. And on a Cinebench R23, I got a multi-core score of 6,645 and single of 1,295. Nothing getting too crazy, it is only 4 cores and 8 threads, but it is something at least. Also for Geekbench, I got a single core score of 1,216 and a multi of 4,133. And then finally for the Blender BMW Benchmark, it finished in 7 minutes and 42 seconds, which again isn't the fastest, but was actually able to do it. So from all of the results, it's not the craziest or fastest system. I think I am a bit spoiled with top of the range hardware and so on. But I think for people who can't necessarily afford to build a full custom system, we don't really know how, and also don't possibly have the space, then this could be an option that they could actually go for, not only for office work or home use, but you can actually play some games with it as well, and again, get some decent-ish scores. So for a first timer, I definitely think this could be an option. Now you do also have the option of using the Fidelity FX Super Resolution like a DLSS to boost your frames a bit, but unfortunately none of the games that I actually tasted did use or had that as an option. Some of them had a DLSS, but none of them had a Fidelity FX. Now you do have that option, but it's for majority more AAA title games. And again, unfortunately none of the games that I tested had that. Now, the new FSR 2.0 is also being released now, and it does look quite good, but I still think that depending on your system, for this small system with more budget, lower powered APU, I think it's still going to struggle on majority of games. Some games will have that extra boost just to get over 60 FPS, like a Call of Duty Modern Warfare, but you do also have a Call of Duty Vanguard that does actually have Fidelity FX support. I just don't have Vanguard, although it's on the same engine still. But it's still not going to work for majority of older games. So yeah, that's pretty much it for my look. I do hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, a nice little small option if you want to go this route. It's not going to be for everybody, but I do think it's a pretty nice smaller system. So there you have it. Thanks for watching, guys. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like, share, subscribe, and comment like always. And also check out the mini piece linked in the video description below. I'm not sure if it's out in South Africa yet, but if it is, I will leave a link down there. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll check all of you next time. Cheers, guys.